You're not drowning in tasks. You're drowning in open loops. Half-decided projects, parked initiatives, unread reports, AI drafts you meant to come back to later, and they're spread across email, docs, chat, task tools, and sticky notes. That pile is not neutral. It's a quiet tax on your judgment. It slows execution, erodes confidence, and creates that constant background feeling of being behind, even on days you're working hard.
If you've caught yourself thinking, I know I'm missing something important in this mess, that's backlog debt. It's the cognitive interest you pay every day for work you haven't decided the fate of yet. And the more AI you use, the faster that backlog grows. Every smart prompt generates 5 new drafts, 3 new ideas, and 1 more thing your future self is supposed to handle.
Today's briefing is about a simple countermove: executive backlog triage. Think of it as a 30-minute hygiene ritual for your work. One sweep, once a week, that turns backlog chaos into a short, high-leverage action slate you can actually execute. 1 core idea, 3 moves. Collect, classify, commit. I'll walk through each, then we'll plug AI intelligently, flag the failure modes, and land on 1 concrete action for you to take this week. Clarity is leverage. This is how you reclaim it from the pile.
And the goal is not a perfectly organized system. The goal is a smaller, sharper set of commitments you trust. The system reveals the truth. If your calendar and your actions don't reflect your priorities, your backlog will tell on you.
Let's define the thing. Executive backlog triage is a repeatable 30-minute sweep where you do 3 things. First, you collect. You pull tasks, notes, and AI outputs into 1 temporary staging list, not organized, just gathered. Second, you classify. You assign 2 simple labels to each item, its leverage and its fate. Third, you commit. You convert a very small subset of those items into time-backed actions, and you explicitly decide what dies. Done right, this is not a planning session, it's not a productivity hobby, and it's not another board to maintain. It's a weekly reset that keeps backlog debt from compounding.
If you've ever cleaned out an overstuffed closet, this is the executive version. You don't admire every shirt and reminisce. You move quickly. Keep, donate, trash. Same idea here, just applied to your work and your AI exhaust.
Move 1. Collect. Most backlogs are invisible because they're fragmented. 10 tasks in your project tool, 50 in your email, a dozen DM requests, 30 AI drafts, and a mental list you swear you'll remember. For triage, you're not solving that fragmentation permanently. You're creating a temporary, single pane of glass. Here's the protocol. Step 1. Pick a staging area. 1 simple list. This could be a blank note, a scratch pad in your task app, or even a single text document. Step 2. Set a hard time box. 5 to 10 minutes maximum. This is a sweep, not a census. Step 3. Sweep in everything that has even a small claim on your attention. Skim your inbox for flagged items, your task tool for overdue or no due date tasks, your AI chat history for drafts you meant to revisit, and your notes for ideas that keep resurfacing. Write them down in that staging list in the simplest form possible, 1 line each. No categories, no tags, no dates. The rule in Collect is simple. Don't think, just capture. The moment you start debating priority, you've left Collect, and you're slowing yourself down.
If your brain starts saying, but where should this live? Or what project does this belong to? That's noise for later. Right now, you only care about, does this item hold any claim on my future attention? If yes, it gets one simple line on the staging list. If not, you ignore it for now. Patterns create power, but you can't see patterns you haven't collected.
Let's move to the second phase, classify. You now have a messy, consolidated list. Good. You've brought the chaos into the light. Classification uses two axes. Axis 1 is leverage, high, medium, or low. High leverage items move needles, revenue, risk, strategic clarity, key relationships. Medium keeps the machine running. Low is nice to have. Axis 2 is fate, one of 4 options: do, delegate, design, or drop. Do means you are the one who executes. Delegate means someone else can execute if you give them a clear packet. Design means this isn't an action at all. It's a system or decision you need to architect so future work becomes easier. Drop means you explicitly decide this doesn't deserve future attention. For each line on your staging list, you assign one leverage label and one fate label. High, do. Medium, delegate. Low, drop. And you keep moving.
Here's how that sounds in practice. Finalize pricing for Enterprise Pilot. That's probably high/do or high/do. It shapes revenue and positioning. Reply to 3 networking emails from last month. Maybe medium do or medium drop, depending on who they are. Reread AI-generated brainstorm doc number 7. Often low drop. If it hasn't justified itself by now, it's probably clutter. The key is speed. You're not building a perfect scoring model. You're making rough, honest calls with a bias toward fewer high items and more drops.
If you feel resistance here, it's usually 2 things. 1, fear of missing out, the sense that if you drop an item, you might regret it later. 2, identity. Executives often secretly equate being busy with being important. Dropping work can feel like admitting you never needed it. Reality check. Work you never actually do doesn't contribute value. It just occupies mental RAM. Dropping is not wasteful. It's anti-waste. You're freeing up capacity to execute on the very few things that actually matter. So, in Classify, be slightly ruthless. Aim for most of your list to end up medium or low. Only a handful deserve high.
And remember, you can use design as a flag for recurring pain. If you keep seeing variants of follow up on X or chase status on Y, that's your system telling you there's a design problem. You don't need more hustle, you need a clearer process. Precision drives agency. Naming something as design gives you permission to step back and fix the pattern instead of just surviving the symptoms.
Third move, commit. This is where most people quietly fail. They stop at a nicely labeled list and feel productive, but nothing in their actual week changes. Triage is incomplete until your calendar, your delegation, and your kill decisions are updated. Here's the protocol. Step 1. Filter for high leverage items across do, delegate, and design. If that list is longer than, say, 10 items, you were too generous. Tighten your definition of high. Step 2. From that high list, pick a maximum of 3 to 5 do items for this week. These become calendar-backed blocks, not vague intentions. Put them on your calendar as focused work sessions with clear names and realistic durations. Step 3. For high delegate items, draft concrete delegation packets. What success looks like? Context, constraints, and the first step. These are either emails,
tasks to your team or instructions you hand to your AI to format. Step 4. For high design, schedule 1 or 2 design blocks, or, if you genuinely don't have capacity, intentionally downgrade or drop. Someday is not a fate category.
And then there's the most liberating step, making your drops explicit. If an item involves someone else's expectations, you send a quick message. Given current priorities, I'm not going to move this forward. Here's what I recommend instead. Or, this fell below the bar for this quarter. I'm closing it out on my side so I can focus on X and Y. You're not ghosting work. You're closing loops cleanly.
Notice what we've done. We started with a sprawling, fragmented backlog. We swept it into one list. We labeled each item's leverage and fate quickly. And then we converted only the highest leverage items into hard commitments, with the rest either delegated or deliberately dropped. You end with a short, high-energy action slate you can trust, instead of a graveyard of tasks you quietly ignore.
Now let's layer in AI, because used well, it can accelerate each phase. In Collect, you can ask your AI assistant to pull from your tools. Summarize my last 2 weeks of emails and tasks into a single list of potential action items. You're using AI as a sweeper. In Classify, you can paste your staging list and say, propose leverage and fate labels for each item using high, medium, low, and do, delegate, design, drop, and highlight anything that looks obviously low value. It won't be perfect, but it will surface patterns and give you a first pass to react to.
In Commit, AI becomes a drafting engine. For high/delegate items, you give it a rough outline, outcome, context, constraints, and ask it to draft delegation packets or task descriptions for your team. For high-do items, you can ask it to break the work into a small, sequenced checklist that fits your time block. For drop or delay, you can have it draft clear, respectful messages that close the loop. Help me write a short note to decline or postpone this project, emphasizing current priorities and offering a simple alternative. You still make the decisions. AI just compresses the friction of execution.
There are a few common failure modes to watch for. First, turning triage into a perfectionist sorting ceremony. If you're tweaking labels for 20 minutes, you've missed the point. This is fast hygiene, not system design. Second, hoarding low-leverage items. If everything is high or medium, nothing is. You want a healthy amount of low/drop. That's a sign you're being honest. Third, stopping at the list. A beautifully classified backlog with no corresponding calendar blocks is just cosmetic productivity. The system reveals the truth in your schedule, not in your tags.
If you're going to implement one thing from this briefing, make it this. Schedule a 30-minute executive backlog triage session this week. Put it on your calendar by name. When that block comes up, run one full cycle. Collect into a single staging list for 5 to 10 minutes. Classify each item with leverage and fate, moving quickly. Commit by turning 3 to 5 high items into calendar blocks or delegation packets and explicitly closing anything you drop. Do it once. Feel what it's like to have your backlog shrink and your action slate sharpen. Then, if it works for you, make it a weekly ritual.
If this was useful and you want more short, tactical briefings like this in your ear, hit subscribe. You'll get regular 10-minute intelligence feeds that turn noise into leverage and help you keep your systems and your attention sharp. Patterns create power. Build the pattern of clearing your backlog on purpose instead of living in quiet backlog debt.
Make your next move count. Subscribe to the Agentic Executive so you don't miss the next briefing. Stay agentic.